Hey everybody, this is Tim Kelly, and I'm pleased to be back. People want to know why I don't include camera settings. Camera settings meaning like ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. In the studio, it's very, very fixed. So I shoot at an ISO 100, which on my camera happens to be the lowest, slowest, which gives me the finest quality. That goes back to film days, really. Slower films, slower, sensitivity of the sensor will give you an optimized rendering. The shutter speed that we use is 125, but 125 is very adequate for me. And I can promise you this and show you that because I'm shooting with all strobe light, there is no leakage, there's no window light coming in, there's no ambient capture. So in other words, when my flash doesn't flash, that frame is completely black. Now, if you had a lot of ambient and you use wide apertures, when your image doesn't come out and you still see half an image or a ghost image, that is potentially blurring or just degrading your actual capture. So I'm going to show you these things. My formula is also it's multifaceted. I always want to have a sweet spot, and that sweet spot was obtained in the studio at around f10, f9, f10. The reason was I wanted at least that much depth of field for whether I'm chasing a child or I'm doing a group. So in having a kind of a fixed middle, that kind of gives me a guaranteed sharpness of 4 or 5 feet of depth. I'm not going to miss any images because of focus. Many of you have either learned, been trained, or by default, or by choice. You want to shoot more wide open, and that's perfectly fine. If you're trying to make your background out of focus, all these things I'm going to tell you still apply. From the main or key light to the fill light, ambient light, whatever it is you're using is all affected. So by finding your own sweet spot, if you told me I had to shoot today at f4, I could adapt very, very quickly and all my images would come out just fine. But the reason that I do it, for me, at a more sharp depth of field is because I want to go instantly on the fly with my long lens. I keep I shoot with a pretty long lens, so I can go from 70 to 200 mil or something, and I'll go from shooting a group, a 3/4 family group of 5 people, to zooming in on one child, and nothing has to change. They're all going to be in focus all the time. The way that the creative process takes place with the lighting is simply how much power and how much distance we use on each of the lights. So it's a recipe, if you will, that makes a great image, and we modify it on the fly, and when we bring a light in closer, we turn the power down so that the camera does not have to change. Now I'll give you a really good example. If you are changing your aperture all the time because the kid got too close to the light or too far away, what's happening is everything else in the image is going to get out of whack. So because a child gets too close to the light and you choose to stop down, now your background light is wrong, your hair light's wrong, your fill light's wrong. Whenever you want to execute a change, you do so, you move the light and you change the output of it to give you the correct balance. So this is my everyday studio exposure. 125 f10 is where I start at ISO 100. Now to make this work, you have to have easily adjustable lights. There was a day in the past where we used to have power packs and cables, and it was all manual and all high powered. So when you wanted to make a change on a light, it was quarter, half, or full. When we do, let's say a group of children, and we do some candids and we do some headshots, and the mama wants to buy a panel in a little mat or something, you want the background of those images to match perfectly. And you won't achieve that if you're just changing your camera every time a kid looks cute. So I grabbed my sound man from the video department over there. Probably seen us 100 times. Go to the back of the power light, turn it up and down, or use the remote and turn the hair light up and down, that kind of thing. And that is so we can maintain the matching value. If I keep changing my aperture, the background's going to change, and I don't want that to happen. So we'll do a test shot. Beautiful. See if the light is good. It's pretty good. Oh, there's a problem with it. We'll put it on the screen. The only thing is, we don't have the reflector close enough. So we got to bring that in. So we would normally have this reflector pretty close, and that will give us a nice ratio. It nose slightly that way because that's where the main is. So there we go. Now we have a really sweet looking exposure right there. It's not a bad hair day for him either. So to change it just enough to give you all a lesson, we shot this 1/25 at f10, just as I told you. Now at that same exposure, you could say I want it to be much softer and bring the light in much closer. Let's bring this light in closer, which will make it a little, of course it's brighter, of course, but as they say, it's also softer. So to make up for that, I'm going to have to cut the power, but let's do the test first so we can put it on the video here right next door to the first shot. Boom. And he's a little bit blown up. He's about to stop more overlit right there. So we're going to simply come on back here. Here's what we do. We're currently running, this is upside down, 62 watts on this thing. So we're going to go down just a little bit. Let's try it. Well, 44 is good. There's 50. I'll try that, 47. That's a cut of about 25%. And if we do this right, the first frame and this third frame should match nicely with a different feel. Put your glasses up just a little bit in case you happen to like it. Chin up just a little bit right here. Let's do another test here real quick since we like what we shot. What would happen if you did it the way most people do that aren't thinking about exposure value and power value? So let's put this power back up here, move the light in, and we took the picture and we found it to be too hot, all right, which it is, and you want to stop it down. So let's stop it down. We're gonna go to, from 10, maybe to 11 and a half. 13 is 11 and a half, so we'll do that. So when I shoot this image now, I'll get a good value on his face, but my background has gone very dark. And that's what happens here. See, that's the value I want, and that's the value that I have on his face, but everything else is messed up. Even the hair light has gone from being good to being too dark. So that's just one simple example. This back down to the 40. And I'm gonna put this back to my F10. And good, stay right there. Excellent. Yeah, we're back to perfect balance again. And I'm going to flip the main light around. And I'm going to turn the number 2, the big box, away from him just a little bit so it doesn't hit him against the direction of light on his face. So this should be good. Now, you can be leaning this way a little bit and nose this way just a little bit. We're not going to change the camera settings. That way, that background stays the exact same tone, the hair light stays the same value, everything stays the same, except the key light. Okay, so we'll do him on this side. And it's perfect. I just want to get another, I'll put this even closer. There we go. That's where it should be for him. Nose here. Too much. Come back. That looks good right here. And all right, perfect. There we go. There is his new picture lit from the other side. Now I feel the shadow side could be filled more. And one way to do that is what we call feathering. So instead of aiming it at his nose, we're going to aim it in front of him. That way more of the reflector becomes more powerful. Probably a work of art. Unfortunately, your good side's the other side, but it's okay. Yeah. So, but it's pretty good. We can go even more frontal light or fashion-y. Go down a little bit, point it a little closer, a little more frontal, because as he says, this is not the best side right there, so we'll go with a flatter front light. And there's our saleable portrait right there. We've not changed the camera, 125 at 10. All right, all kinds of things you can do to improve the image as you wish to, but don't change your general exposure and you'll have a handle on it. Let's say you prefer to shoot at 5.6 or 4, just start right there, but use the exact same principle. Build the normal scenario that you do, but when you make your changes, don't go to that aperture setting. Just go to see which one of the lights is too hot or not enough and make adjustments in it. Now, obviously, the f10 at 125 is not gospel. I may end up shooting a family in their home at f8 or less. Then there is the situation where you have ambient light that you want to capture. So you want to slow your shutter speed. If you do slow the shutter speed lower than a 60th, generally a 30th is my range where I gotta put it on a tripod. At that point, you still test your lighting, get everything ready before you sit actual subjects down. Once I've tested and confirmed and like the balance of the ambient and my strobes, then I don't change the camera. I just change the power of the light. If I need more fill, I have that turned up. If I need more kick light, I have that turned up. If I need main moved in, it's just a matter of leaving the camera alone. And just try this. Try it at home, as they say. Start your sessions and your creative shoots at something that is normal, if you will. Kind of like with the blank canvas. Start with something very middle of the road, if you will. Start with the vanilla and then add all the other things to it. And I hope this and the illustrations I've included, technical information on screen, will give you the simple answer to why I don't share camera settings generally on any of my videos, because they're the same all the time. Even if I'm shooting a breakaway, a onesie, just the kids, just the parents, whatever, everything stays the same. And I simply ask my assistants or whoever's working with you to bring the lights in closer or to pull them away or feather them, but that's all it really takes. So hopefully you find this helpful, and we'll see you next time again on Tim Kelly's Master Photo Techniques.